taste-free, and Garlic is a world leader in garlic potency. I'm taking charge of my cholesterol with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula, cholesterol's natural enemy.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
Snapshot from Progressive wasn't created for just anybody. Oh no, we made it for you. Gradual breakers. You keep your eyes on the road, so you've seen it all. As long as it all happened directly in front of you, like a Swedish masseuse. Your foot knows exactly the right amount of pressure to apply to the brake. That's why your passengers feel totally relaxed with you behind the wheel and occasionally super sleepy. With Snapshot, safe drivers like you get personalized rates based on your driving habits. Sign up today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
The bond markets will keep a close eye on the Federal Reserve tomorrow as it holds its first policy meeting with the new Fed chairman, Kevin Warsh, at the helm. NVIDIA betting on artificial intelligence to revive U.S. manufacturing.
Silicon Valley company is unveiling a major AI infrastructure upgrade, part of a $2 billion partnership with Coherent. NVIDIA CEO believes that AI can create jobs rather than replace them. Rich Thomason reporting.
McDonald's frying up some apple pies to honor America's 250th birthday.
McDonald's is one of several fast food companies offering America 250 treats. Burger King recently debuted its firecracker cookie pie. Sonic is offering a red, white, and blue slush float. Hardee's has an iced star-spangled biscuit. I'm Julie Walker.
On Wall Street at the close, the Dow was up 328 points and NASDAQ lost 307. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Bob Agnew.
News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather, brought to you by our friends at Palmetto State Armory.
On 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We are cloudy overnight with a 40% chance we get some rain while you're sleeping, the low dipping to 69. Tomorrow, rain's possible in the morning, partial clearing later in the day, and our high reaches 88. Rain chances do increase to 40% for Thursday, 60% for Friday. High temps hovering in the mid to upper 80s each of the next few days. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com. The Point.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Talking Tuesday coming at you from downtown Columbia here at the Point Radio. Hope you had a wonderful day. Top it off by joining us here on Sports Talk. Our phone number, 888-898-2525. That is a South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. If you don't get anything else right, you're playing the lottery, you're filling out the little numbers, just play 888-898-2525. I can't legally say it's a guaranteed winner because you can't guarantee it. Guarantee it to get through to Sports Talk, 888-898-2525. But take those numbers, play a combination of those numbers, and see how you do. You might become a trillionaire, the second one in the world, if you're lucky. And our text line number is 803-900-4847. 803-900-4847. Bergie is off tonight. I think he was caught up with the hooligans after the soccer match in Atlanta yesterday.
Did he get robbed? Have we checked in with him?
I saw a picture of him, like, both his arms are wrapped up in medical tape, and he's got a big bandage on his forehead. And I'm kidding for you Bergie fans out there. Haven't heard from him, so I hope he's okay. He and the missus. He'll be back tomorrow night. I got a great one lined up for you. Going to check in on the College World Series here momentarily with Jason Patterson out in Omaha as a play out there continued today. More loser bracket action, so sending home another team from Omaha. It's always sad when you get to this point, but you got to weed them out, and you got to get down to those last two who are going to make it into the championship series. So this afternoon, in an elimination game, we had where are we at here? We've got Oklahoma. Let's see. No. Where are we? That was Monday. Where are my Tuesday games? Well, I have to look it up somewhere else because it's not coming up here on the NCAA. You would think that the NCAA website would actually have today's scores on there, but they don't. Have you seen a score, Plummer? Because I've been busy doing other stuff
Of what?
today. The CWS game.
The Troy game? Troy and West Virginia?
Yeah.
I think West Virginia was putting a beating on Troy.
They
late
did. Here
in the
it
game.
is, 12-0. Woo! 12-0 West Virginia. So they stay alive. What a performance on the mound. 12-14-1 for West Virginia. 0-4-0 for Troy. They left 13 on base. How'd they do that? Must have had a bunch of walks. Troy was the home team, so let's see. They drew 7 walks. They did strike out 13 times. Had a couple of doubles out of their 4 hits, but story of the day had to be the pitching of West Virginia. They used 4 pitchers, and they allowed just the 4 hits, and they walked the 7. They did strike out 13, and they hit 1. And so West Virginia stays alive to play again tomorrow. And we'll get more details on all that from Jason here in just a little bit when we connect with him. 12-0 West Virginia defeats Troy. So, we had this flurry of excitement in these parts over the past few days when you had Kevin Schnall being announced as the new baseball coach at South Carolina last week, and Chris Lemonis being named the new baseball coach at Coastal Carolina following him. Chad Holbrook hiring Monty Lee to join him at Coastal Carolina. Had this big flurry of activity. Then you had the quick signings of players, free agents who were making the move, and then many of them from Coastal Carolina picking South Carolina, Clemson picking up a few, Charleston picking up some, Coastal picking up some. So a big flurry there. But now, here on June 16th, pretty much declaring a quiet period as far as activity is concerned. Yes, we got some football recruiting going on. Trey Segura is going to LSU. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Trey Segura is going to LSU. So we got some football recruiting going on, and we got the end of some camps. USC still has a few more camp days left. Clemson's been done. But pretty much things are starting to shut down, heading towards the 4th of July, vacation time for people, coaches, sportscasters, et cetera, et cetera. So we're sort of hitting that quiet period before things really crank back up. Used to be right after the 4th of July, but it's going to be now it's sort of a little bit later after the 4th, maybe another week or so. Then we get into the media days, and this year the ACC is going ahead of the SEC. So they'll have the earlier week in July. That'll be in Charlotte, and then the SEC will follow in Tampa. Of course, we'll have them both covered for you here on Sports Talk. Of course, we do have the U.S. Open getting underway tomorrow at Shinnecock, and we'll get with MJ Ward for some live coverage of that from up there. And the NBA season's over. Baseball season is grinding along. The World Cup, of course, for those who are interested in soccer. So I've tried to watch some of it, and I've seen one goal out of the 3 games I've watched pieces of. I've seen one goal. I understand that a 0-0 tie in soccer can be a very exciting event, from what I understand. But that's got to suck not to have a winner when you play, over 90 minutes. You can't score, and they just call it a draw. They should come up with a way to have, if they were playing for the championship, they'd play a sudden death sort of thing. I don't know why they don't do that in these knockout round matches. Why don't we get a winner? I ask you. And I don't know anything about soccer, to be honest with you. So that's kind of where we are with things. Coming up tonight, after we check in with Jason, 7:05, Steve Fink, the retiring sports information director. That's the old world term, sports information director. Steve Fink is going to join us to talk about his life and career at South Carolina. It's been a great one. Over 20 years with the Gamecocks. He's seen a lot of things happen over there. A lot of good, some not so good. A lot of people coming, a lot of people going, and plus, he spent time in the major leagues with the Kansas City Royals, hanging out with guys like George Brett and those people. So he's got some great stories to share. We'll talk with him about his career, and he'll be retiring here, I think, in about another week or so from his position at South Carolina, and looking forward to talking with him about that. Josh Harris at 7:35. We'll talk NASCAR with him after the race this past weekend. Another victory by Denny Hamlin, this time at Pocono, and now they're getting ready to go to San Diego for the first time and racing on the naval base there. That should be, that should be worth a watch just to see. It's sort of like Chicago, like the first time they ran on the streets in Chicago. You just want to watch because of the uniqueness of where they're racing. And the same thing here, the uniqueness of where they're racing. You want to check that out. So we'll talk with him about that. And an interview with Clemson football target Seth Williams, who we talked to last night. He is down to Clemson and Georgia, an old-timey recruiting battle between the Tigers and the Bulldogs like they've had over the years, going way, way back. And this one now is a hot one as he heads towards his announcement on Friday, still undecided between the two. Of course, he was once committed to Clemson. Then he decommitted so that he could take visits and look at other options. And now he's got Clemson right back heavily in the mix. So we'll hear from him tonight as well, along with your phone calls, 888-898-2525, and your text messages, 803-900-4847. So give us a call or drop us a text line. We'll communicate with you that way as we head out to Omaha once again with his eye on the CWS. Jason Patterson joining us here on Sports Talk as West Virginia lives to play another day and the Cinderella story of Troy is officially over. Welcome in, sir.
Well, you can almost hear Country Roads playing in the background, I'm sure, Phil. They just finished swaying on the first base line this time to the tune of that familiar refrain. West Virginia has really been embraced out here by the locals, and they've traveled extremely well, the whole state of West Virginia, right, in support of that program. They talk about it a lot, how there are no professional teams in the state, and therefore everybody's attention goes to what the Mountaineers are doing. And boy, you could really see that shine with the way they've shown up out here. Just been a tremendous, tremendous run for them, and it continues. You said it. They made sure the Country Roads are taking Troy home this time around instead of themselves. But, you think about Troy. Let's pause there for just a minute and talk about what Skylar Meade's done with that program in a short period of time. I mean, a guy with South Carolina ties. You'll remember him from his time on the staff there with the Gamecocks. Last year they missed the tournament, even though they had an outstanding year. And he decided he wasn't going to let that happen again. They played up this year schedule-wise, ended up knocking off some teams that are among those Power Four headliners, and they earned the spot to be here and proved they belong because they got the first win in a College World Series in school history on the trip. But West Virginia was just too much today, and the Mountaineers roll on. We get that North Carolina-West Virginia matchup again.
Yep. So West Virginia, their two wins came against Troy, so they've proven themselves to be better than Troy, and their loss came to North Carolina, so they'll get their shot to avenge that tomorrow. So the pitching today by West Virginia, obviously excellent, a shutout, only 4 hits. They did walk 7. What does their pitching look like for tomorrow? Do they have much left?
Well, the answer to that question really is what does it look like in comparison to North Carolina? And the Tar Heels are obviously in a much better spot. But West Virginia is just happy to be playing. You get to this point in the tournament, you're happy to be rolling. They obviously had to use their best arms in the arsenal today in order to work their way to North Carolina tomorrow. So now it's regroup and figure it out. But Phil, you've been out here and covered these. It's survive and advance. And you never know, and you know this better in the Palmetto State than probably anywhere, who that guy is going to be that steps up that maybe is not on the list of guys we're looking at. And West Virginia is going to have to be in a spot where they're looking for some of that. You have to love the fact that this wasn't a tight game where they had to use all their best bullpen bullets today. So they are going to be in position that they feel like if they can get deep into that game with North Carolina, they're not incredibly taxed on the bullpen side. But sometimes it becomes piece it together on the front line, especially when North Carolina is going to be as rested as they are, having just used a handful of pitchers thus far in the tournament. West Virginia, got to love North Carolina's spot when you talk about that head-to-head matchup from a pitching staff standpoint. But West Virginia's happy to still be playing, and they hope somebody can stand in the gap for them.
All right, tonight you got another elimination game, Georgia, Texas, and the winner gets Oklahoma. So another monster showdown between Georgia and Texas. What does the pitching look like for that one? What have you seen?
Well, two, again, strong bullpens. I'm going to point to that. You're going to see how your start handles the moment, that's for sure. But these are two bullpens that are in a pretty good spot to be on the elimination side. But Luke Harrison's a good, solid starter. Dylan Vei's going to get the nod on the other side. They're both very capable. But I, again, underscore the fact that these bullpens are pretty well rested to be on the elimination side of the bracket. I mean, with West Virginia, even what they did just now today, you got to feel good about where you sit in the bullpen. And in these days in college baseball, whether you've got those arms on the backside like North Carolina has exhibited so far in the tournament and like Oklahoma was able to pull off yesterday, those arms on the back end are going to be as important as anything else. And in talking with both the Texas people and the Georgia people, they don't feel like they've been incredibly taxed in that department. So they feel pretty good about what they have coming in behind Veig and Harrison. And if they can, give them a good start, then you see where you are from there. But, yeah, I think the surprise of this whole matchup, when you kind of zero in on it, is where we're getting it. I don't know that anybody didn't expect to see Georgia and Texas square off more than once out here. The question is, did anybody expect it to be on the elimination side of the bracket with one of them going home on a Tuesday evening? And that's what we get instead. So it should be a lot of fun. I mean, you got the team that was really least tested in the regional and super regional round in the Texas Longhorns going up against a Georgia team that swept the SEC regular season and postseason crown. So, something's got to give here because there's only room for one to stick around in Omaha.
Yeah, I guess nobody thought Oklahoma, which is not a seeded team, would be one of the two unbeatens at this point with North Carolina. And North Carolina and the Sooners, I mean, by winning those first two games that they played, they have the advantage of extra rest, while the West Virginia's going to have to turn around and play tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. And the winner of the Georgia-Texas game is going to turn around and play tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So coming up through the losers bracket is not an easy thing. If you can stay on the winner's side, I mean, you can make it pretty easily. I mean, it takes 5 wins. If you go undefeated, you can win the whole thing in 5 games. Easier said than done. So it's a big advantage for those guys, North Carolina and Oklahoma. At least you would think that the time off they had is going to work to their advantage.
Well, it usually plays that way, but baseball is a funny sport in that sometimes time off doesn't serve you as well when you're rolling. You want to keep playing. You want to line up the next day and stay in that routine. So it's always interesting to me to see what teams do when they have multiple days off like North Carolina is going to have here. Again, they're lined up better, as you detailed perfectly from a pitching standpoint, but you hope that, when you hit the pause button, you can kind of resume and keep rolling the way you can moving forward. But you said, who would have thought Oklahoma would have been in this spot? Maybe you could have found somebody on the flats after the ball cleared the batter's eye that could have told you at Georgia Tech how strong this Oklahoma team was once they got rolling. You got to remember how far down they were in both of those games to the number 2 national seed. And once they survive that, they feel like they're playing, from here with nothing to lose. And they played like that. The job they've done, the freshman arms, have done for Oklahoma to put the Sooners in this point. There is no question who the hottest team in the country is right now, and Skip Johnson's got this team playing its best baseball when it matters most. Yes, it's a team out of the SEC. It's not the one on the SEC side of the bracket you would have picked. I heard somebody call them today the Cinderella on the SEC side of the bracket. Now, we're talking about a 2-time champion Oklahoma and a team that played for the title just a few years ago against Ole Miss. So a little weird to call them a Cinderella, but when you look at how powerful that side of the bracket was, Oklahoma was the team getting the least attention other than people saying, look how hot this Sooners team is. Well, now it's look what a position this Sooners team is in moving forward. So, the disappointment happening for teams as their season ends here. You watch the Troy folks file out as I sit here and talk to you. They file out reminding you they were the last team standing from the state of Alabama. So there's still wins when you're out here and your season ends in Omaha. But for teams like Oklahoma and North Carolina in the driver's seat and a Texas-Georgia matchup tonight trying to battle back with West Virginia, these are teams that are thinking about a whole lot more than that, and only one's going to be happy at the end of the weekend.
How's the weather been overall and the crowds overall?
Yeah, it's been an amazing story, the weather. This is, I think, the 4th consecutive day where the first pitch has been thrown and the temperature was less than 80 degrees.
Ooh.
Now, you've been out here, and you've experienced June in Omaha. That's the story. That's a headline. it has been cool weather, and that may have something to do with the way the ballpark is played. We've already had more home runs. This was true last night. Driving out of here last night, the headline had already been written that there were more home runs in this edition of the College World Series than any we've had since it moved to the downtown ballpark. So you don't know how much the weather played into any of that or what that factors into it. But I will say this. The temperature is the temperature, and it's been much cooler than what you usually experience here in the Midwest this time of year. That's been welcomed by the fans, who have certainly enjoyed the time. And you asked about turnout. I mean, again, the West Virginia folks turned out strong. Troy, for who they are, a team that packed 7,000+ into their ballpark there in Troy, Alabama, had a good showing out here. North Carolina is well represented, and, it's going to be a split between Burnt Orange and Georgia Red tonight when Texas and Georgia tangle.
All right, my friend, enjoy it again tonight. Let's tell everybody where to go find your stuff. On CWS.com. That's EYE on CWS.com. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night.
Look forward to it. It's crazy to think we started this thing with 64 just a couple of weeks ago. We're going to have 4 standing at the end of the night tonight. Going to look forward to seeing who that is. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, pal. Appreciate it. All right, Jason Patterson out where I'd love to be. In Omaha, I wonder how many steaks he's had. That'll be the question tomorrow night. How many trips to the Drover have you made since you've been out there?
I'm sure you've been dreaming about it every night, Phil.
Well, I have a picture of Corey Miller when we were out there together, and he was looking at a 46-ounce ribeye.
I assume he ate the whole thing?
Oh, with ease. And we topped it off. I only had like a 32-ounce. He went with the 46-ounce. And we topped it off with this huge bowl of banana pudding. Huge. We'll be back.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is right around the corner here in the Palmetto State. As you get ready for this spring and summer, make sure your registration sticker is up to date and you have a copy of your registration card on board your boat. For more information on boat registration and answers to common questions, visit dnr.sc.gov.
This spring, Founders Federal Credit Union is giving you a fresh start. Open or access your home equity line of credit and get 4.99% APR on funds drawn from April 1st through May 31st. That's more in your pocket for home improvements or even that vacation you've been dreaming about. The possibilities are endless. Imagine a fresh start this spring with financial flexibility and peace of mind. But hurry, this special offer ends May 31st. 4.99% promotional APR expires December 31st, 2026. APR will then revert to the standard variable APR, currently 6.75% to 11.75%. Plus, you'll enjoy competitive rates designed to fit your budget. Don't miss this chance to turn your home's equity into something memorable. Relax, your HELOC just got more powerful. Visit foundersfcu.com/HELOC for more information. Membership qualification required. Institution NMLS identifier number 410646. Equal housing lender. See website for details.
Looking for thrills? Then welcome to the South Carolina Education Lottery, where excitement's the name of the game, and every chance at a win
Just one more. Come on, so close.
comes with a chance of a whiff.
Ugh. Well, no biggie.
Nicely done. You handled it like a pro. Because when the stakes start getting too real and you find yourself playing for more than fun, it might be time to take a break.
Good point.
Playing for fun makes you a better player, and a better player is a better you. Learn more at SCEducationLottery.com.
There's a hard moon rising on the streets tonight. There's a reckless feeling in your heart as you head out tonight.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk Media Network. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us here on Sports Talk. And our text line number brought to you by Larry Lucas, State Farm Insurance. That number is 803-900-4847. Reminder about the lottery. Learn more about the lottery's impact at SCEducationLottery.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. And LarryLucasAgency.com or call Larry at 803-799-1998 for the Columbia office Lexington, 803-359-0770. He's at 5370 Sunset Boulevard there in Lexington. Remember, you have insurance. Probably you should, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com. So, South Carolina, for much of the recruiting period, looked like the team to beat for Trey Segura. They've been on him very hard. Parents are graduates. In-state, they made him a targeted player, a priority. And then he visits LSU for the first time ever last weekend, or 2 weekends ago. Not this past weekend, but 2 weekends ago. And that's that. He comes out of that. He cancels his visits to Tennessee and South Carolina and announces today for LSU. So the Lane train comes in and pulls one out of South Carolina. Again, of course, he had Jaden Bryant and he lost him to Miami. So I just want to bring this up to discuss recruiting in our state as we head down the second half of this month. And a dead period is coming up after this weekend. It's going to be dead after this weekend. It goes dead until the end of August. So South Carolina has 8 commitments. I don't know how that compares nationally, but I don't think it puts them way up as far as the number of commitments. And that's not is that a concern? Maybe yes, or maybe not, because you still have the fall to recruit players, have players take visits and get commitments. And, you always continue to recruit guys that have committed elsewhere in the hope that they might fall back your way. But still, I would say by South Carolina standards and what they have been doing, there has to be a little bit of concern in the football offices over there about what's not going right for them, especially losing a big-time in-state kid and other big-time in-state kids. And it's been over a month since South Carolina last had a commitment. Their last commitment was May 15th, so it's been over a month. And since they had their official visit weekend, the 1st of May, all their commitments have come from that weekend. No commitments from subsequent official visit weekends yet. They haven't had all that many uncommitted players come in for official visits since then, to be quite honest with you. We'll pick up on this after the break.
On Point Weather, brought to you by our friends at Palmetto State Armory.
On 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We are cloudy overnight with a 40% chance we get some rain while you're sleeping, the low dipping to 69. Tomorrow, rain's possible in the morning, partial clearing later in the day, and our high reaches 88. Rain chances do increase to 40% for Thursday, 60% for Friday. High temps hovering in the mid to upper 80s each of the next few days. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
South Carolina summers are hot and humid and hard on your air conditioner. When your home stops feeling comfortable, call Sweet Comfort Services. We're family owned and operated with over 30 years of heating and air experience. From service and maintenance to complete system replacement, we're here to keep your family cool. We'll even meet or beat any quote from a licensed competitor. Schedule your appointment online at sweethvac.com or call 803-331-8143. Sweet Comfort Services, comfort you can count on.
Never With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump's administration is further dismantling the Department of Education, moving oversight of special education and civil rights to other agencies. The Department of Justice will take on enforcement of civil rights in education, while the Department of Health and Human Services will oversee special education. Soon, half of all American school kids will live in states that offer public money for a private education. Texas is the latest to join in, budgeting $1 billion to spend this fall on private school scholarships or homeschooling expenses. Next year, the federal government will start incentivizing private school scholarships in states that have never offered them before. Mixed day on Wall Street as the Dow was up by 328 points. The Nasdaq dropped 307. More details at srnnews.com.
Nobody plans for a plumbing problem. They come unannounced and usually at a very inconvenient time. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is your trusted ally. They recognize just how vulnerable a customer is at this time, and they want to help. They have well-trained plumbers who are there to make a difference when you need it most. I've experienced this. They're knowledgeable about their craft. They're not coming to your house to pitch new products. If something is broken, they'll give you a price to fix it if it's possible, or a price to replace it if necessary. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is also locally owned and operated, or I simply wouldn't endorse them. Josh and his team prioritize customer service above everything else. They handle every issue with care and precision. Those are not just words. I've had Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning out to my home. They back up those words with their actions. If you have a crisis, get some peace of mind. Online, you find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com, or you call 799-2222. That's 799-2222. I'm absolutely positive they will make whatever is wrong right again. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
Nothing better than a Saturday night in Casey, West Columbia. It's the return of Rhythm on the River, proudly presented by the Greater Casey, West Columbia Chamber and Prisma Health. Come out to the Savage Stage at Savage Craft Ale Works on Center Street this Saturday and give a listen to Jimmy Buffett's tribute band, Captain Mike and the Shipwrecked. It's family-friendly and pet-friendly. This year, we even have pop-up vans of various local businesses. For more information on this and all events, check out cwcchamber.com/Rhythm on the River, and we'll see you Saturday at Rhythm on the River.
Gas prices might be high, but your auto loan rate doesn't have to be. Beat your current auto loan rate by 2% when you refinance with Founders Federal Credit Union. Plus, make no payments for up to 90 days. That's right, save money with a great rate and make no payments for up to 90 days. Let a Founders representative be your trusted advisor to help make the refinance process quick and easy. Don't forget to ask for a free auto insurance quote to protect your purchase. Founders also offers mechanical breakdown protection that's competitive with most warranty plans available at dealerships. Stop by an office or apply on the Founders app today. To learn more, visit foundersfcu.com/auto. Not a Founders member yet? Visit the Founders website to see if you qualify for membership. For additional cost information, call us toll-free 800-845-1614. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, welcome back. Talking Tuesday here on Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblut here with the plumber, Josh Cohen. Chris Bergen back with us tomorrow night. Phone number 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. And text line number 803-900-4847. Lines are open. Got some text messages. We'll get to that in a moment. Remind you about our man Jimmy Smith at James Smith Real Estate, the beach, for your perfect location when you go down to the beach and you don't want to stay in a hotel and you don't want to be crowded in with some people you don't like. You want to get your own place, have your own room, your own space. Let Jimmy help you out and find that location for your perfect beach getaway. 843-237-4246. That's 843-237-4246, online at Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. By the way, if you're heading down to the beach for your getaway, your vacation, from Paulie's to the south, you can find us on our affiliate out of Charleston, the Big Kahuna station, 98.9 FM. That really covers the entire coastline from Charleston into Paulie's Island, maybe a little bit past Paulie's, maybe to Litchfield. Starts to kind of die out around Myrtle's Inlet. That's why we can't advise you if you're in the Myrtle Beach, greater Myrtle Beach area, that you can pick it up. But if you're in if you're in Murrells Inlet going south, anywhere down that way, and you're looking for us on the radio, 98.9 out of Charleston, the Big Kahuna, ESPN radio there, you can find us. Working on some other situations in Myrtle Beach proper itself, but for now, that's your best opportunity over the radio to find us down there when you go on vacation or maybe to go down to play some golf or just hang out, whatever the case may be. So, as I was saying as we hit the break, talking about the recruiting situation, South Carolina and Clemson as we hit this stage of the summer. South Carolina sitting on 8 commitments. 8 commitments. Pretty small number, I would say, overall. Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that stands out. Not a single player from South Carolina in that group. And they've had 3 decommitments. So they seem just sort of like they're stalled right now. And they needed some good news today from Trey Segura, and they didn't get it. And so they turned their eyes toward this coming weekend, the last weekend for official visits before it goes dead. And, I mean, the players they've got look like, based on their recruiting, look like good players. I mean, the running back, Braden Tyson, he's a good running back out of Georgia. Nobody's going to complain about that. The 2 receivers look like quality. DJ Huggins and Javian Robinson look like quality. The tight end, Judah Lancaster from Brentwood, Tennessee, 6'5", 240. Not going to argue with that. But only 2 offensive linemen, Will Endicott, Jackson Elston. The quarterback looks fine. Jerry Meyer III threw for 10,000 yards, I think, or so in high school, some big number. 1 really good-looking defensive tackle, John Archer. Now, I mean, they could be on the verge of adding some people. Don't get me wrong. There's no reason to throw up they hit the panic button from the folks they had in this past weekend. There's a chance they could come away with some of those guys as commitments. They just haven't done so yet. But they do have some announcements that are coming up that could fall their way that would change the narrative here a little bit. I mean, I'll be shocked if Amari Patterson doesn't commit to him on Friday, the wide receiver out of Bluffton High School, lives in Ridgeland, goes to Bluffton. That would be, another nice pickup. He's a very talented receiver. And then the other 3 that came in over the weekend, Chris Whitehead still has Ohio State to visit, defensive end. I mean, he's a pretty heavily recruited guy. I mean, if you didn't get commitments from these kind of guys at this stage when they come in for your visit, chances are you're not going to get them. Not saying it's absolute. Antoine McCoy looked like it was South Carolina and Georgia, but now he's going to visit Miami this weekend. So that makes him more of an iffy situation. And Clayton Lee going to visit NC State, the offensive lineman from Callahan, Florida. Have no real feel on him either. So I don't know on that one. But again, not blown away enough. Any of these guys blown away enough to do to end it this past weekend. Now, Patterson might have been. He had preset his announcement for this Friday, so he might just be waiting. He might know what he's going to be doing, and that might all work out just fine for South Carolina. And then this weekend, coming in to see the Gamecocks for the official visits, you've got Nate Carson from Irmo. I mean, that's one that you really need to get. He's in your backyard, and he's a good player, has had some big-time offers and some nice visits. Joshua Dobson, the cornerback, and his teammate, the safety, Davion Jones, both coming in from Cornelius, North Carolina. Of course, Dobson used to be in Fort Mill at Catawba Ridge. And, I mean, the national folks are not projecting these guys to South Carolina. I think Texas A&M is listed as the favorite now for Dobson. Jones is, I think, projected elsewhere. And then Marquise Evans from Hoover, Alabama, defensive end, is coming in as well. So, I mean, maybe they can get 2 or 3 of these guys. And, again, that would change the narrative a little bit. But there's just not a from what I can tell, there's just not a strong feeling on any of these guys that they're going to pop for South Carolina right away. Well, now Carson, he doesn't announce until July 11th. Dobson has a date as well. Let's see. His date is going to be July 14th. So even if they commit privately, if they stick to their plans, they're not going to say anything publicly about what they're going to be doing. Davion Jones is July 26th. So these guys all have dates set in July. Marquise Evans does not have a date set just yet. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with this upcoming weekend, see if the Gamecocks are going to generate some momentum. And we'll have more on a potential commitment for them in this class coming up in our recruiting report a little bit later on. As for Clemson, the Tigers are sitting here at 22 commitments, so they're getting towards the end as far as the high school recruiting class is concerned. And, I mean, it's a very good-looking class with a lot of guys that were recruited heavily by other Power 4 programs. I mean, that's what I go by. Who do you have offers from? Who can you visit? Who wants you to visit? That tells me more than any star ranking or anything else anybody has to say. They don't always get it right, the recruiters, with their evaluations, but that's what they're paid to do, evaluate and offer players who they think are good enough to win and win at a high level at their place. And, I mean, they've got the quarterback in Hughley, who was an Elite 11 guy. They got I don't know if Gary Walker you would say was at the very top of their list at running backs, but they eventually got down to him after some others went different directions. 3 receivers, a couple of tight ends. Their offensive line looks really good. This looks like another group of really talented offensive linemen that Matt Luke has put together. Only one in-state player, however. So between South Carolina and Clemson, you've got 30 commitments. Let me take that back. I'm wrong on Clemson. They got 3 in-state players, but 2 are from Daniel. So that's a given. And you have 1 from Dutch Fork. So 3 for Clemson, 3 in-state recruits out of 22, none for South Carolina. So out of 30 commitments, only 3 are from South Carolina between the 2 schools. That's a very, very low number. But one thing about Clemson, and they're winning some battles against some other heavy-hitting foes and big-spending foes, what I think's happening up there, I think they're pouring money into their recruiting. I mean, I think they're upping the ante with their NIL offers and putting that back into their recruiting efforts, and you're seeing the fruits of that now. I think they're spending more on their high school recruiting as far as the NIL guarantees, the revenue share, and however you want to roll it into one big ball. They have to be. They wouldn't be winning some of these recruiting battles, and they're losing some as well. There was the linebacker, Sean Fox, who it looked like they were going to get. And now he ends up most likely going to Kentucky. And the feeling is there that Kentucky came back with a bigger offer. But Clemson's won a lot of these battles too, and I think they've stepped up their spending on the high school side of things and with their NIL offers and impressing recruits that way and getting them into their recruiting class. So, and they've got some that are pending, and we'll talk about that in recruiting. There's projections for 3 more to join the Clemson class here in the near future. So Clemson's got it going pretty well with their recruiting right now, and South Carolina has got to pick it up because then again, in the old days you would say you got to pick it up. But really, do you have to pick it up when you've got free agency out there that you can kind of fix your problems with? When this is all over and said and done, and you've got your recruiting class put together no matter what it happens to look like, and you go and play the next season, and then the free agency period opens up in, January? I mean, you can overcome a lot of shortcomings today in your high school and junior college recruiting by just going into the free agency portal and finding players that way. So on the one hand, you look at it and you go, it's not going all that well. But on the other hand, you can say, well, you know what? You can do well in January with that type of recruiting with an older it might cost you a little bit more in some cases, but maybe not. Some of the top talent in high school coming out now is commanding quite a figure. We had the information last night on that website, Plummer, that you pulled up, that South Carolina spending $30.5 million, according to this NIL calculating website, $30.5 million on its roster for this year.
The NIL standard is the name.
And Clemson was spending, what, 28 something?
I believe. I can check.
Yeah, I think
I'll
it was
double check.
28 something. So, that's spending the money. South Carolina is. That's spending the money. Who's number one? Miami?
Well, in the entire country, or
yeah,
Texas is the number one at $47.9 million.
And what's LSU? They're number two.
Yeah, LSU is number 2 at 44.5, and then Oregon, then Ohio State, then Texas A&M, and then Miami. Clemson's sitting at 28.4.
28. So South Carolina, according to this, is spending more on its roster than Clemson is right now. Now I don't know where they're getting their information, but from what I understand, it's pretty. That website's pretty. People recognize that as being pretty accurate.
TheNILstandard.com.
In this world of not being transparent, I don't know where they're getting their. I guess maybe they're getting it from agents and people like that, maybe from players themselves. But yeah, I mean, it's not like South Carolina is not spending the money. So if you spend $30.5 million, and I saw today, MGM, BetMGM came out with their 2026 win totals for the SEC. And Georgia and Texas are placed at 9.5. Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M, 8.5. Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Florida, 7.5. Missouri, Auburn, and South Carolina, 6.5. Vandy, 5.5. Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Arkansas, 4.5. So for $30 million, South Carolina's win total is expected to be under 6.5. So, I mean, if the Gamecocks win 7 games, go 7-5, is that considered a good year at $30 million? I mean, what is the minimum that you should win, that you need to win to make that $30 million stand up? Is it 8, 9? I don't know. It's a whole new type of figuring that we have to consider in today's world. I mean, Georgia at 9.5. That's and Texas at 9.5. I mean, that's a pretty conservative take on those two. When you figure that, you know, it used to take 11 wins to get you in a position to win a national championship. Now we're talking, 9.5 would be 10. 10 for Georgia, 10 for Texas. That would certainly get them into the playoffs and a chance to play for the national championship. So South Carolina at 6.5, or 7 is what it would be if you rounded it up. Is 7 wins enough to make people happy around here this year with Shane Beamer after coming off a 4-win season a year ago? Or does he need to double? I mean, 4-8, if you can just double your win total and go 8-4 in the regular season and then go win a bowl game, then you're right back to your high mark of 9-4. And people will be like, gosh, what a great turnaround. It's one of the great turnarounds in college football this year. You doubled your win total. So, I mean, that's possible that you could do that if you're South Carolina. It's also possible that you'll come up below that with the schedule that they're going to be playing and some of the issues they're going to have on this team going into the season. Okay, let's hit the break, and we'll come back with more, jump into some of these text messages. And if you want to chime in, the phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Front Office Sports has a story today. Bad blood between the FIFA World Cup broadcasters Fox Sports and ESPN. The Fox executives are frustrated at what they perceived as ESPN's lack of coverage around the World Cup being held in this country for the first time since 1994. Be right back.
If you're a new parent or grandparent, it might be tough to picture your little ones heading off to college, but it'll be here before you know it. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to start saving for a child's future education right now. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college today at futurescholar.com. That's futurescholar.com.
Traveling can be the worst, especially when you can't find your favorite show. Well, don't worry. We've got the perfect way to keep up with everything happening in the Palmetto State when you're away from home. Just pull up the Chief Sports app on your mobile device, and you can listen live to Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network.
So the next time you can't find us on one of our great radio affiliates, just log on to the Chief Sports app, the best way to stay connected with the Sports Talk Media Network.
Effective training is not just about lifting heavier weight. It is about producing force with control. The Tsunami Bar was developed in 2012 to enhance high-intensity workouts while helping reduce joint stress. Its flexible design creates controlled oscillation, requiring your muscles to stabilize and work together throughout each movement. This promotes greater muscle activation, improved balance, and stronger functional performance. Tsunami Bar Sports is committed to continuous improvement, delivering dynamic training tools for individuals at every fitness level. Whether you are focused on long-term strength, injury prevention, or improving rotational stability for sports like golf, Tsunami Bar training supports total body performance. Discover more at TsunamiBarSports.com. Visit TsunamiBarSports.com. That's TsunamiBarSports.com.
Well, no sooner are the words out of my mouth talking about a South Carolina target who was in for a visit this past weekend, who was a possibility for the Gamecocks to kind of break them out of this little dead zone they're in. Antoine McCoy from St. Paul's, North Carolina, just across the border. Like, that's the first county you go into in North Carolina when you cross the border at I-95, just south of the border. He has committed to Georgia. Was going to visit Miami this weekend, so obviously that's off. So he visited Georgia and he visited South Carolina. Those were his two visits, and he has committed to Georgia. So another substantial key miss for South Carolina in this recruiting period. All right, let's go to the phones, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. And we're going to go to
Hank in Columbia. It's on your sheet. It's on your sheet.
I'm not on the same sheet as you. I don't give a sheet. I'm not on the sheet. Hank in Columbia, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine, Corn. Yeah, you got to think that you've seen this in some of the other sports that being South Carolina probably being hit by the negative recruiting. Because most of the time when you listen to the local shows, everybody's like kind of what you were talking about before. Is 7 wins going to be enough to keep Beamer's job? There's been a lot of talk of that. And so normally in the other sports, whenever there's been that hanging out there, you'd love to say that recruiting is fair. But what we've seen with these SEC coaches, they got to be using that with a lot of these high school guys.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, 4-8's not going to help you in recruiting circles.
Yeah, well, you get to talk. If you're 4-8 and there's not much talk about you going, you're all right. But every time I pull on a show, folk are trying to put a number on Beamer's keeping his job, and when you start doing that, the other SEC coaches are going to do that. Now, the good thing about it is you do have the portal, because I've read an article. Clemson with 22 and 24. Or whatever commits. I read an article where a lot of these schools, these schools that have been making the playoffs and stuff, besides Georgia, they take like 12 or 13 players at the high school class because they like to keep the spots open for the portal.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them not doing any high school recruiting, but they keep they want to keep that flexibility of. And that article said they want to keep that flexibility about 15 to 18 spots for the portal, because if they're in trouble after a given year, they don't want to take the time to work on developing and putting the food into the high school kid to get them up to snuff. They want to get some of these guys that are already proven. So
but I think Dabo is. I think Dabo Sweeney is going back to some of his old his old preference, and that is the high school recruiting. But I think my feeling is, but my feeling is that they're winning more battles than they're losing now. And my feeling is they're pumping more money into the high school recruiting. They're upping the ante with some of their high school offers and taking care of that, maybe even more so than veterans on the current roster, and not worrying about holding back dollars for the transfer of the free agency situation down the road, trying to take care of their business now with as good a high school recruiting class as they can put together.
Yeah. Well, Corn, there's two things about that. It could be good. It could work out if everything falls into place. But the two things about that you have to think about nowadays. I hate it like that because I hate it for the high school kids. But will your fans, if you come off of what your fans call a subpar season, and you start to struggle out the gates, can you get your fans to hold on long enough when you're saying, just give us time to develop these players in 2 or 3 years, we're going to be really good. That's one. And then the other is if you have a player comes in and he's really showing out as a high school player and is able to produce, will he be with you in 3 years?
Yeah. How are Clemson fans going to feel? Really, how are they going to feel if LSU beats Clemson badly to open the season? That may not happen. It may not happen. We still don't know, what's the quarterback situation going to be at LSU, for example? What's the quarterback situation going to be at Clemson, for example? What's the running back situation at Clemson going to be? How's this offensive line going to be? I would say that the only given at Clemson offensively is that they're going to have a very good receiving core and very good tight end group. But I'd say the offensive line's questionable. I still don't, we'll see if Gideon Davidson or one of those transfers, maybe it's Johnson, comes in and sets the world on fire back there. And nobody believes Vizina's going to go in there and be an all-ACC quarterback, but he might just be. I'm just talking about right now, summertime projections. Nobody's believing that right now because Clemson people are saying, well, just give it a little time. It's going to be the Reynolds kid in there. That doesn't say a whole lot about the guy you've been grooming for how many years. So
exactly. And see, that's the thing now, Corn. If you people know that you have the availability of the portal. So it seems to me that fans are way less patient with high school kids coming out and waiting 2 or 3 years for them to get good when they want to be good right now. So,
well, everybody wants to be good right now. There ain't no tomorrow. Thank you very much, Hank. Great hearing from you. There ain't no tomorrow. I mean, it's got to be today. You got to do it today. And so, South Carolina recruiting right now seems to be kind of stuck in the mud. And we'll be back.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The U.S. and Iran agreed to a framework extending their ceasefire for 60 days with a formal signing ceremony expected Friday and nuclear talks to follow. Republican Senator John Kennedy says he looks forward to seeing the terms of the Iran ceasefire agreement.
We're not going to get to see the document until Friday. That's okay. I'm expecting, based on what I've heard, just general conceptual language. I'm very hopeful that it'll work. We won't know for 60, maybe 90 days whether we're going to be able to confect a real agreement with Iran.
The agreement could reopen the Strait of Hormuz, ease pressure on global energy markets, and create a window for negotiations over Iran's nuclear program. A Russian warship fired warning shots at a UK-registered yacht in the English Channel today.
The British military says it is investigating after a private yacht reported being fired at by a Russian warship outside UK territorial waters. Russia's defense ministry says their crew tried to contact the yacht when it was seen sailing on what they say was a dangerous course near the ship, launching flares, issuing sound signals, and says when the yacht did not respond, their crew then fired warning shots with small arms. The BBC reported that the yacht, which has no motor, had drifted towards the Russian vessel in foggy conditions. No damage or injuries were reported. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
It was a mixed day on Wall Street, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 328 points, but the Nasdaq dropped 307, with the S&P 500 lower by 42. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Progressive knows you think the grass is always greener, like maybe you ride a motorcycle. But today, it's raining. So you wish you had an RV, but if you did, you'd have to listen to some guy parked next to you at a campsite plays acoustic guitar. Now, before you start wishing you had a boat, remember, your brother-in-law would invite himself every weekend.
Permission to come aboard, Captain?
But one thing that is greener is the money you could save when you bundle your RV, boat, or motorcycle with your home or auto with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Oil prices dropped while stocks were up and down. We hear more on the market's activities today from correspondent Seth Sutel reporting from New York.
Oil prices fell again while stocks drifted to a mixed finish near their all-time highs on Wall Street. The S&P 500 fell 0.6% Tuesday. The Dow rose 330 points. That's about 0.6%. The Nasdaq Composite fell 1.2%. Drops for some big AI-related stocks weighed on the market. Chip company Broadcom lost 4.4%. The price of Brent crude fell below $80 a barrel for the first time since early March. The latest fall in oil prices came as traders hoped that the global flow of crude could resume if the tentative deal holds to end the war with Iran. Seth Sutel, New York.
News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather, brought to you by our friends at Palmetto State Armory.
On 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We are cloudy overnight with a 40% chance we'll get some rain while you're sleeping, the low dipping to 69. Tomorrow, rain's possible in the morning, partial clearing later in the day, and our high reaches 88. Rain chances do increase to 40% for Thursday, 60% for Friday. High temps hovering in the mid to upper 80s each of the next few days. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com. The Point.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All righty, welcome back in, everybody, to Sports Talk Media Network, hour number 2 on this Talking Tuesday. Great to have you with us. Steve Fink will be joining us in just a moment. Couple of quick notes. The opponents, SEC opponents for South Carolina women's basketball, for all the women's teams in the SEC, in particular South Carolina women, those opponents were announced today, so the Gamecocks will have home games against Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Kentucky, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and their road opponents, Georgia, Oklahoma, so Oklahoma home and away, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Texas. So LSU home, Texas away for the South Carolina women this coming season. And so I mention that because our next guest will have plenty of time to travel and watch all the women's basketball that he wants to watch. Big fan of women's basketball. Welcome into the program, good friend, longtime sports information director, using old school term there. I know he's an assistant athletic director for this and that, but I still like to call them SIDs. It just makes it simple. Who'll be hanging it up here in like the next week or so after a long, long run with the Gamecocks, like 21 years. Let's welcome Steve Fink back to Sports Talk. And good evening there, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well, Phil. Good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you. Great to have you with us, and congratulations on making it to the finish line. We all want to make it to the finish line. You made it to the finish line.
Well, that's the goal for sure, I guess. But it's certainly been surreal this last few weeks, especially thinking about it and wondering what kind of the next chapter is going to look like. And you can't do something for 42 years overall and 21 here at South Carolina without, going to be without things being different and just trying to picture in my mind what that's going to look like. And so, yeah, it's going to be different, but looking forward to it as well.
Why this time for you? Why did you decide this was the time to hang it up?
Well, a lot of reasons, Phil. I turn 65 tomorrow.
Oh,
really happy birthday to me!
Happy birthday!
So that certainly plays into it. As you get older, and someday, Phil, you'll get older too. My wife and I want to travel a little bit and do some things, and you kind of, you're, knock on wood, my health is still pretty good right now, but age creeps up on all of us. It's undefeated, and so if we want to do some of those things, we kind of want to do them while we can still move around and do some things. And let's be honest, the big picture of college athletics isn't the same as it was when I first got in it in 1984.
Yeah.
And so, things are different. The job's different. What they want us to do is different. And I just felt like it might be time to pass the baton to someone else and let them run with it at this time.
Excellent point. What's kind of funny in your case, you came to college athletics after being in Major League Baseball with the Kansas City Royals. So, I mean, what you were used to doing with the Royals is kind of where things are getting to on the college scene now.
From a player standpoint, certainly where the athletes are paid, that's certainly part of it. But that part doesn't particularly bother me. I mean, some of it's gotten a little out of hand. I've always thought that I have no issue with the players being paid.
Yeah.
And I think some of it's gotten I think we've stepped into some stuff that I don't think anybody anticipated that it would look like the way it does now. Let's be honest. The pendulum's really swung back towards the advantaged players, if you will.
Yeah.
The whole Brandon Sorsby stuff over the last 4 or 5 days has just been crazy to even think that that he might have a chance to play after all that stuff. So there's just a lot of things. College athletics has a lot of issues that needs to work through right now, and I'm sure things will straighten itself out, but it might take a little time to get back to whatever the new normal is.
Well, I tell you what, you sure did have a nice array of head coaches to work with over the years at South Carolina. When you think about some of the people that you've had to sit down with and work with and help set up interviews and advise and help and assist, what can you anything in particular really stand out in your mind about the different coaches, the different personalities that you've had to deal with, and how you had to deal with each one individually?
Well, like you said, Phil, they're all different. They all kind of have their hot buttons and try to figure out what it is that kind of moves the needle for them. What's important to some isn't as important to others, and how they handle things. You just try to work with them and figure out what that is, and try to support them as best you can. And each guy's different, and just like anything else, you work with different people over time, and you try to make the best of whatever situation you have.
The Spurrier years were very interesting, very entertaining. of course, and there were some flashpoints there. What do you remember dealing with him during the little feud with Ron Morris there in particular? Because I think everybody remembers that. What was that like from your position?
It was probably one of the tougher situations I've had to deal with in my career.
Yeah.
I had no idea when we walked in that press conference that day that Coach was going to do and say what he did. He didn't give me any kind of heads up at all. So I was surprised as anyone in the room, and then just trying to make the best of it. And certainly not a good situation for anyone. And I think that went all the way to the top of both at the university level and at the state newspaper level to try to get that resolved. And it was just an unfortunate situation. The funny thing is, Ron and Coach actually were pretty good friends prior to that, I thought, or had a good relationship. Coach knew him from back when he was coaching at Duke, I think, and Ron was working up in North Carolina at that time. And so, that thing went south in a hurry, though. That was a tough situation for sure.
Yeah. How did you, in your position, try to balance things to kind of serve the members of the media, which is like one of your challenges, and then also protect your coaches and serve them and do the best by them? How did you try to balance that?
Yeah, that's what the job is, right? Is you try to balance that. You try to help the media as much as you can. There are times that you're not able to do things, share things with them that would help maybe in some cases, just because of different factors. You're just not able to share everything. Sometimes you just have to eat it a little bit. But it just becomes a relationship thing. The better relationships you have with people, with the members of the media, maybe you can tell them something, off the record, or, hey, don't use this, but here's, why this happened, or, they may not agree necessarily, but at least they might have a better understanding of why something is the way it is. And that doesn't mean we're always right either.
Right.
You make the best decision you can with the information you have at the time. So it comes back to relationships, and hopefully there's some common sense on both sides, and you can work through most situations.
Spurrier seemed to be fun. The thing I loved about Spurrier was after a game, and tell me from your position how this worked. Like after a game, you had to be downstairs. You had to be on the field before the game was over, or you would miss the beginning of his press conference. I mean, how quickly, when you guys came off the field, win or lose, what was it like as you walked back towards the locker room? Like how much of a speed race was that to keep up with him?
If hopefully you won the game, so usually there's that post-game press conference on the field with the TV announcer. So that buys you a little time. But yeah, he wasn't big for making long speeches in the post-game, in the locker room and stuff. He got out of there pretty quick and got to the media room and got on with it. And he didn't ask for a lot when he had his. He'd been doing it a long time and knew what he wanted to say. And, a lot of times, obviously, he used the media to send messages to his team and to the fans. And, he's, like I say, his ad-lib lines were well rehearsed. He knew what he wanted to say. He thought about it. A lot of that off-the-cuff stuff, he knew what he was going to say, and just taking little shots and stuff like that. He kept it fun, he kept it entertaining, and quite frankly, he liked the day-to-day reporters and the banter back and forth with them and that sort of stuff. So it was always good, and it was one of those deals where the media always had to be there when he was going to speak, because you never knew what he was going to say.
Yeah,
and. I remember the time, and Pete Acabelli, who worked for years with the AP, we still laugh about it when he came, after practice and got handcuffed on the practice field because he claimed he looked like, that somebody identified him as somebody who just knocked off the gas station down the street or something. but talking about Clowney, when Clowney was on campus being a recruit, or was a recruit, and they handcuffed him and downtown somewhere, and so he kind of explained that being handcuffed isn't all that bad, and so it was just a lot of things. It was a lot of things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Did you ever witness a classic Muschamp blow up in the locker room?
Not in the locker room that I recall, but I've seen him raise his voice on occasion. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, you got to stick your face in the blade. You got to stick your face in the blade of the fan, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah. Now,
he can get intense. I'll say that.
Yeah.
He can get intense.
I was a little surprised. I really thought that was going to work out. What was that like? It was a mid-season firing. I think it was after the LSU. I think it was during COVID. That was the COVID year too. A lot of stuff going on there. What was that like for you that particular night or weekend after coming back from Baton Rouge?
Well, I mean, you're not naive. Things aren't going well, and we weren't playing very well, and you can sense that the sharks smell blood in the water, so to speak, and the media is asking a lot of questions about it and what's going on and stuff like that. And again, you just try to be supportive of your coach. Sometimes they're kind of looking for a friend at that time that understands a little bit, and so you just try to be as supportive as he can. But they're big boys. They understand what the deal is as well, and why they're there, and what that they're expected to win, and so they understand that's part of the job too. But it's a tough situation, obviously, for everyone, and that it's easy to say, well, fire the coach. Well, that affects not only him, but it's his family. Ultimately, you're going to have a whole staff probably getting replaced, or at least a good majority of them, and so you're talking about a lot of people's lives that get uprooted when a coach is let go, and you become friends, obviously, with those people. You've been with them for he was here for 4 or 5 years, and a lot of that staff was here for that long and stuff. So you become close to them, and it's, you all understand it's part of the job, but it's a tough situation. Certainly, it's not something that. Fortunate, I guess, now that I'm at the end, I won't have to go through it again.
Lucky for you. We're talking with Steve Fink, the senior associate AD at South Carolina, who is retiring at I think your party's next week, so I guess maybe that's the last official thing there for you. So Shane Beamer, he's a guy that will recognize somebody in the media, their birthday or their engagement. If somebody sneezes, it's a God bless you sort of thing. I mean, he really comes across as a genuinely caring and nice, super person, a human, more than a football coach in some ways. How do you view him as you walk out the door?
Yeah, exactly that. It's funny. Obviously, I built a relationship with Shane when he was an assistant coach here back under Spurrier back in the day, and a younger guy obviously at that time. Still kind of learning and stuff, but a good guy then, and like I said, build a relationship with him. He was the one assistant coach who left, who kind of kept in touch over the years. A lot of guys go on and you don't never hear from them again. He was one guy who kept in touch and periodically would send a note, or he's a guy who grew up with media guides, and he loved collecting media guides. So he always asked me to send my media guide, and then
really?
He'd get it and say, hey, great job on it and stuff like that. And just, so one of those guys I kind of kept in touch with and knew where he was. And so when the opportunity for him to come back here, I was very excited, obviously, because, you never know what you're going to get, right, when you get a new coach and what they're going to think and stuff like that. But having kind of that pre-existing relationship with Shane and knowing what a good guy he was, he's got a great family. I've gotten to know Frank, over the years now, and what a good person he is, and Shane's mom and stuff, and just a really good family. And what you see is what you get, and he loves it here, and nobody's pulling for him harder than I am.
Oh, I bet. So, I mean, you've had some real high moments. You've had some low moments with the programs, but you had some very high moments. The 9 wins with Beamer and the early success with Muschamp and the nice run that Spurrier had. And then there's the women's national championships. I know the sports are divvied up, and that's not yours directly, but you kind of oversee everybody. You got the national championship on the men's side as well. So, I mean, has there been a favorite moment amongst all the highs that kind of stands out to you the most?
Yeah, I think the one that I always come back to, and obviously we've had some great wins, and those wins, the 11 win seasons with Spurrier was obviously a lot of fun, and winning winning bowl games and all that kind of stuff. I went to the ESPYs with Jadeveon when he had the play of the year that year, and that was a lot of fun. But I think the one thing that has stood out to me that I would say my favorite memory actually would have been 2010 baseball season when we won the national championship. The first major sport to win a championship at South Carolina. Obviously, the women's track did in 2002, but this was a little different. Yeah, let's be honest. And not obviously the way we won it and all that was very exciting and on the field. I was in Omaha, but the best part of it for me was the drive back from the airport to the campus after we won, and seeing the people lined up on the streets, waving to the bus as it came through, people literally pulling off the road to get out of their cars to be able to wave to the team to welcome the national champions home. Still, quite frankly, brings a tear to my eye and chokes me up just because you knew how much it meant to everybody here in Columbia, every South Carolina fan across the state. To win a national championship, kind of break through that glass ceiling, if you will, and hey, we can do it. And obviously, Dawn's done it now 3 times since then, and baseball obviously won it a second time that next year. But that just breaking through that first time and what it meant to the fans, it's still probably the coolest thing I've been part of.
That's awesome. Can I tell you something?
Absolutely.
Chad Holbrook was on with us last night, as he routinely is. We were talking about that Oklahoma game in 2010. And he told us that when he scored the winning run, when Jackie Bradley scored the winning run, that he missed third base.
Is that right? Boy.
He said nobody saw it. Of course, there was no replay. Remember now, he had just barely – he got a great call on a ball 4. That was very close. Yep. Remember that? Got him on base.
Yep.
And he scores the winning run, and he was coaching third base, and he said Jackie missed third base. But he looked around. He noticed the umpires didn't see it, and nobody on Oklahoma was arguing about it or pointing it out. He saw the umpires walking off the field, and he said, man, we dodged one there. But he said now Jackie will tell you he didn't, but Chad said he missed it by a little bit. So little scary moment there.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. It's shocking to me. Dawn Staley, maybe the biggest international figure that you've had on campus. Hall of Famer, international acclaim for her basketball, the championships, the recruiting, the way she has built that program. What's that been like to watch from the inside?
Unbelievable. Just I was there. I hosted the press conference when we introduced her in that tired little annex next to where they play volleyball now.
Yep.
There was a little room down there. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And not very big. Not all that many people were there. And who knew then what that would turn into? You kind of joked about it earlier, but I am a big women's basketball fan. I've enjoyed it for a long time. A good friend of mine was the reason I got back into college athletics. A guy who was a women's basketball coach at TCU helped me get that job, and so I followed it because of him. We got kind of ingrained with it at TCU, and then we came here. obviously those first few years, Susan Walvies was here for the first couple of years I was here, and then obviously Dawn took over. And I remember you could come in and sit wherever you wanted to. We kind of just picked our seat wherever, and you could. There just wasn't a whole lot going on in those games. There wasn't a whole lot of people there, and there was some bad basketball being played at that time. And to see what it is now is just incredible with the crowds, the excitement. Obviously they're so talented. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I sure wouldn't want to be the coach who's going to follow her in here, whoever that is. That's going to be a tough task for whoever is next in line when Dawn finally decides to hang it up.
How much longer do you think she'll coach?
It's a great question. I don't know. I mean, she's got it going so good right now. I think it'd be hard to walk away, but if some NBA team would finally decide that they want to try to make a female, I could see her. Not necessarily that she, and I don't want to speak for her, but I could see where, to make a statement as a black female to be the first, to break that barrier.
Mm-hmm.
I think she would feel some kind of obligation if she had that opportunity. But again, I don't want to speak for her. I've never had that conversation with her, but I mean, she's the best in the business.
Oh.
And to be able to convince those kids, I mean, she's got 15 kids on the roster this season, and to keep 15 kids happy with, the way it is now with the NIL and all that kind of stuff and pro aspirations. And, they know their minutes are going to be limited where they could go somewhere else and score, 25 a game or whatever. And she keeps them happy and she's got her rolling and like nobody else. And it's unbelievable.
And she's incredible with what she's done with that program. It's absolutely incredible.
Absolutely.
We thank you
and it gives
so
you
much.
Hope then it gives you hope for the other sports. Then,
Yeah.
hey, if she can do it, if we get the right person, get it rolling, it can happen here. And obviously the fan support's been incredible for it. And so fan support here across all sports is really, really good. And we're blessed and so thankful for that. And it's possible, and I look forward to watching it.
Absolutely. Hey, man, we thank you so much. Congratulations on a fabulous career. You won so many awards there. You and your department have done a great job. You've been recognized nationally for all that you've done, and we appreciate all the help you've given us over the years and all the fires you tried to help put out over the years. And I will.
You got after me a few times, Phil. Let's be honest. You've gotten after me a few times over the years, but I appreciate. Hey, we were able to move on after whatever it is that you got upset about, and we were able to move on, and I think we have a good relationship. And no, I'm not going to come over and mow your lawn.
No, I don't think so. I would. You haven't brought my lawnmower back, so I need it. He's my neighbor, as for those who are wondering. He lives one house across the street from you, so I do see him out running, or used to at 6 a.m, and I would just wave at him as you go by.
Phil, let's be honest. You don't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're just going to sleep.
I could hear him. I could hear the foot.
And unless there's some kid on the West Coast and he's got a call to see where he's going to commit to.
That's true. Steve-O, thank you so much. We'll see you at your big party.
All right. Look forward to it, Phil.
Take care. And we appreciate you being with us tonight. That's Steve Fink from South Carolina. Back in just a moment.
On Point Weather, brought to you by our friends at Palmetto State Armory.
On 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We are cloudy overnight with a 40% chance we get some rain while you're sleeping, the low dipping to 69. Tomorrow, rain's possible in the morning, partial clearing later in the day, and our high reaches 88. Rain chances do increase to 40% for Thursday, 60% for Friday. High temps hovering in the mid to upper 80s each of the next few days. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
If you've never had genuine Wagyu or Hereford steaks and burgers, you don't know what you're missing. Time to order the best of the best from HandJCattle.com. These are local farmers in Saluda where tradition meets quality. The best quality beef and a discount for Point listeners. Enter keyword The Point as one word and get 10% off, plus free delivery in Lexington and Richland County orders of $50 or more. It's cooked in season over at HandJCattle.com.
The Point. The Point.
Next year. With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. In-person election day voting has concluded in Georgia at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. 2 Republicans are vying for the Senate seat now held by Democrat John Ossoff. Mike Collins is facing off against Derek Dooley. In the governor's race, GOP candidates Burt Jones and Rick Jackson will vie for the nomination against Keisha Lance Bottoms, a Democrat. Soon, half of all American school kids will live in states that offer public money for a private education. Texas is the latest to join in, budgeting $1 billion to spend this fall on private school scholarships or homeschooling expenses. Next year, the federal government will start incentivizing private school scholarships in states that have never offered them before. On Wall Street, the Dow by 328 points. This is SRN News.
Lots of plumbing companies out there. Few are truly local. Time to discover the difference with Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. See, when I faced plumbing woes at the Cohen home, Josh and his dedicated team, well, they were my go-to solution. They make a commitment to exceptional service. They arrived on time, clearly detailed all the costs and procedures, and efficiently handled all my repairs without any surprises. These days, how often do we complain about a lack of customer service out there? With Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, these folks are professional. They're courteous. They're skilled at what they do, and they've earned my trust, and they've earned my recommendation to you. From urgent repairs to the tankless water heater you've always wanted, they've got you covered. Visit franklinplumbing.sc.com or call 799-2222. That's 799-2222. Hey, you tell them Kev sent you from The Point. I'm pretty sure you'll want to thank me later.
This Father's Day weekend, celebrate Dad the right way at your local Palmetto State Armory. Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon only, spend $300 or more and get a free PSA cooler while supplies last. Plus, save 20% on Costa sunglasses, 20% off men's clothing, and buy one, get one free on select fishing rods. And if Dad's into shooting sports, don't miss huge savings on PSA rifles, complete lowers, build kits, and accessories throughout the store. You're up for Father's Day and save big this weekend at your local Palmetto State Armory. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Add some sizzle to your backyard with a new grill, smoker, or outdoor kitchen from Bart Fireside. Bart has a huge selection of gas, charcoal, and pellet grills to choose from. Get advice on how to master your next backyard bash. They'll help you plan that new outdoor kitchen to help you entertain year-round. Make memories outside this summer. It all starts with a savory scent from our Bart Fireside grill. Online, bartfireside.com, or visit the showroom at 1131 Broad River Road.
Experience South Carolina's printing powerhouse. Professional Printers is your trusted partner, bringing over 30 years of expertise in print and graphics. From digital printing to web and sheet-fed solutions, we handle it all with a team of over 100 dedicated professionals. Locally owned and operated, we have 2 locations in the Midlands and serve our customers with pride, ensuring top-notch service and quality in every project. We do it all, including storage and promotional products. Visit proprinters.com and elevate your printing experience with us.
Have you visited the original Pancake House on Forest Drive lately? Still family owned while focusing on amazing breakfast and lunch, fresh ingredients, and providing a family feel with the best service around. And isn't that what really matters when you go out? It's all about fresh, huge oven-baked omelets, their famous Dutch baby, and wow, those amazing pancakes. Gotta try those apple pancakes. Thick-cut bacon, the finest French toast, and oh, those homemade crepes. It's the original Pancake House, Trenton Plaza. Come see us.
All right, time to talk NASCAR on this Talking Tuesday night here on Sports Talk as we go into Darlington County and welcome in the president of Darlington Raceway, Josh Harris, to Sports Talk once again. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great.
Appreciate you joining us on a relatively cool Tuesday night. I wanted to ask you, for about a week there, our temperatures were just crazy. 98, 100, 103. Whew. High humidity, yeah. Have you ever gone out on the hottest day, gone out to the track, not during a race weekend, but like here in the summer, and taken the temperature of the track just to see what it's like on that asphalt on like the hottest day of the summer?
I haven't gone out there with a thermometer or anything to take the temperature, but I have been out there on some of these days, and you can stand back and sometimes just see the heat rising off of that asphalt.
Yeah.
But I'll have to take my thermometer out there one of these days and see what that track temperature is on one of these hot days. But I tell you what, it's nice to have a little bit of cooler weather coming through compared to what we had some over the last week, and certainly helps all our guys that are outside working hard, getting everything ready to get a little bit of a drop in temperatures here in the last couple of days.
With the summertime and the heat and the wind and whatever else you got coming through and blowing the sand down there in that part of South Carolina, are you seeing on the track as you go out there to inspect and walk around, are you seeing some buildup of sand and stuff like that that's going to chew up those tires come September?
It's hard to see it just on a day-to-day basis, but if we ever have the need to get out and take a couple laps around the track, if got a special guest, or when we do track laps for charity coming up here and at the end of July, those first couple of rounds of cars going around, that's when you really start to see it kind of kick up, and it reminds you that fine sand is right there embedded in those cracks in the pavement, just waiting to chew up some tires. So don't always see it until somebody starts going around the track, and then you can really see it kick up.
Yeah. Well, Denny Hamlin, wow. I mean, he's on a heater. We've had a couple of guys have heaters this year, and now he's on a three-race winning streak. As you're watching Sunday, they had that pit stop, and some stayed out, and so they had a lot of ground to catch up. That group that pitted, they were well back, and as guys peeled off and went to the pits, they moved up in the standings. But then, Christopher Bell just hung out there, and I guess they must have thought he had enough to make it to the end. He didn't, obviously. So how do you judge what Bell did and his crew did? Was that the right move to leave him out there, or should they have brought him in when the others came in?
I think Pocono's always been one of those tracks that you end up with a lot of different strategies and crew chiefs trying to work backwards, and then when you get cautions thrown in there, they're trying to calculate how much fuel they can save under a caution. And as hot as Denny Hamlin's been, I don't blame Christopher and Adam Stevens for taking that chance. I think they probably maximized their overall finish by doing that. And you just never know. Sometimes at the end of these races, you do get some late cautions, and more than likely, had a caution come out in that race with 8 to 10 laps to go, Christopher Bell would have been out front, and it's more than likely that a lot of those guys would have come in to get fresh tires, and he would have been in prime position. So sometimes you take those chances, and it works out in your favor and gives you a chance to win the race. Sometimes it doesn't. And ultimately, he came up about a lap and a half short, had to come in and hit pit road. But, for a guy that hasn't won a race this year, trying to take out his teammate who is clearly at the top of his game right now, I don't think it was a bad move.
Yeah. It was kind of neat just watching that unfold. It took about 35 laps, and you're just watching the speed times and how he's a little bit faster here, a little bit faster there, and he gradually, of course, caught up to him, and I think he passed him with about 4 laps to go. But for a while there, it looked like Bell might be able to hang in there and pull out a miraculous win. But I guess the people in Hamlin's, his crew chief, they had this thing figured out to the last gallon and the last second that he had enough time to be able to catch him.
Yeah, they knew they had enough fuel. They didn't have to worry about that. Denny could run full out, and they're watching and seeing Christopher's lap times and Denny's lap times, and they got some real smart engineers up there on those pit boxes doing all the calculation, and I think they felt like even if he stayed out the entire time, they were going to make up that ground, and ultimately, that's what happened. Denny Hamlin wins his 3rd race in a row from the pole. First time that's happened in a number of years. I think it's only the 6th driver ever to accomplish that, and winning 3 consecutive races from the pole. So kudos to Hamlin and their team. When you add in the All-Star race win, plus his other win earlier in the year, that's 5 wins on the year. Tyler Reddick's got 5 wins, point-paying wins, and and Hamlin's right there nipping on his heels now in the championship chase as we head into the summer.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight one. It's going to be a nice hot summer race. And so we got San Diego coming up. This should be fun at the Naval Base Coronado. Jimmy Johnson is going to run in this. Also today I see where Chris Buescher signs an extension with RFK Racing. So you got some things happening off the track. How about having Jimmy Johnson back in the car this weekend?
Yeah, Hall of Famer, a guy who's invested a lot of time the last few years in joining the ownership group of Legacy Motor Club, and it's always cool to see Jimmy get back in the car and give it a shot again. It'll be exciting to see him. You got Kevin Magnuson, who's a supercars racer and runs some open wheel, that will be joining the 91, the Project 91 for Trackhouse. So got a couple of unfamiliar or not faces that we don't see every week that'll be out there. But the backdrop for this race this weekend, all three, we got the Truck Series, we got the O'Reilly Series, and the Cup Series, all running the thing. It's about a 3.4 mile course on the naval base. You'll have aircraft carriers and ships and destroyers out there in the harbor as the backdrop. Man, it's going to be so cool. I can't wait to tune in and check it out.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier tonight, it's sort of like the first time they ran the Chicago street race, and just something different, and that draws a big crowd. Kudos to Pocono for a packed house and a sellout. I'm sure they're going to do the same thing here at San Diego. I mean, NASCAR it appears to be, from a spectator standpoint, a hot sport right now.
It is, I think this, with Pocono, it's like 3 races in a row. I know the Coke 600 sold out, Nashville sold out, Michigan sold out, Pocono sold out. So we're on a great little streak here with fans showing up at the racetrack. I think it says a lot about the live experience of being at a NASCAR race. I fully expect before the end of this week that San Diego is going to be announced as a sellout, and they're going to have another big crowd. Now it'll be spread out. You got a 3.4 mile course, so people going out there better pack their walking shoes and be ready to walk around. But I get the weather report. It looks like it's going to be between 70 and 75 out there every day. Low humidity, clear, sunny skies. I mean, you can't ask for a whole lot more going out to a race.
That's awesome. Except in September, when it's going to be 105 in the air and 150 on the track at Darlington, when it's going to be cooking. What's going on? You mentioned you've got a Laps for Charity thing coming up in July. Fill us in on that and other things going on.
Yeah, really this summer is all about just kind of planning and getting everything ready. The grass likes to grow real fast in the summer, and so we're keeping everything maintained around the track, get it looking good. We'll have track laps for charity on Saturday, July the 25th. That'll be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., $30, gets you 3 laps around the track. We're going to have one of our old historic cars in Victory Lane if you want to stop in and take a picture while you're there. And then all the proceeds will go to Darlington Shares, and then One Child at a Time is our charity that we partnered with on this one. So come on out July 25th. That'll be 10 to 1. Take you a few laps. You can see the dust and little sand kicking up from the track, and you'll get us ready to go for about a month later when we welcome everybody back for the Cookout Southern 500 weekend.
Sounds fantastic. As always, great having you with us. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the race at San Diego. You're not going to hop on a plane and fly out there, are you?
No, we got a big crew out there supporting the event, so I'm going to hang back here. I'm going to enjoy watching it, maybe catch a little U.S. Open golf, some World Cup. It's looking like it's going to be a big sports weekend. You got college baseball out in Omaha, so a lot of things to keep that clicker moving around here at the Harris House.
Understood. Thank you so much for being with us. Talk to you next week.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Josh Harris, president of Darlington. Yeah. Never a dull moment at Darlington if you don't hear the sound of the cars running around the track. You hear the sounds of the lawnmowers cutting the grass, and the guys on the track with the blowers getting the sand off, and maybe the guys painting the walls and all that kind of stuff. Getting ready for the big one, the first playoff race coming up in September. Okay, recruiting is coming up after this break.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is here, and as you get ready to go out on the water this spring and summer, make sure you have all the required safety equipment on board. Check for a sound device. A horn or whistle will suffice for most boats. Inspect all of your life jackets. Make sure they're in good condition and are the correct size for all of your passengers. If your boat is over 16 feet, you will need to make sure you have an approved throwable device on board as well. Remember, boating safety is no accident.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Looking for a new car? You need to think about a Kia. If you're in the market for an SUV, consider the new Kia Telluride or the new Kia Sorento. They're big, they're strong, and loaded with tech for thousands less than Honda or Toyota. You'll see the difference right away, and you get double the warranty. Plus, you get the JT's Advantage million-mile warranty and about 1,000 other things you have to see to believe. If you want the biggest bang for your buck, it's time to think about a new JT's Kia. We're serious about saving you money.
There's people that go their whole education without having an African-American teacher. So when I received my lottery-funded life scholarship, I knew I wanted to choose a school that had the Call Me Mr. program. Their mission is to recruit and retain teachers to be those role models for students in underserved areas. And that's what I want to do for my students.
More role models means a better South Carolina. And a better South Carolina means a better you. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
Okay, let's get to the recruiting report. Got a lot to get to. Recruiting is brought to you by Seawell's. Please make your plans to get to Seawell's for the daily luncheon buffet every day, Tuesday through Friday, from 11 till 2. Fantastic display of great food to eat and enjoy. And, of course, give Seawell's the phone call or the text message or the email when you need someone to come help you out with your special event and have the best catering that you can have. That's Seawell's at 803-771-7385 and online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. So Clemson and Georgia hooked up in a pretty heated recruiting battle for safety Seth Williams, who was once committed to Clemson. He's going to announce on July 3rd on the 247 Sports YouTube channel, either 4 or 5 o'clock. He's still working on the final date. He took official visits to both programs, canceling visits to Florida and Ohio State. Had a chance to talk with him last night about where things stood with the Tigers and the Bulldogs as he tries to make that final decision.
Just the basic things, on a deeper level already. Did that and went through that and, already did my research. So now it's just, where do I want to be at? Do I want to be in Georgia or do I want to be in Clemson?
How would you compare how the two places have made you feel when you have visited, your comfort level at the two places?
It's two great feelings, but they're in two different forms, Clemson has their good in their own ways. Georgia has their good in their own ways. It just, who do I see myself fitting in more with? What culture?
Can you say either one when you look at early playing opportunities, availability, which one affords you think, the best opportunity for early playing time?
It's actually a great question. Georgia has some kids that's going to the league next year. Clemson has some guys that are leaving. I feel like it's equal opportunity at both schools. So now it's just time to really break down a depth chart and see where I would be at the safety position and how many safeties are on both sides of the depth chart at both schools.
What's it like to be in the middle of a recruiting battle between Dabo Swinney and Kirby Smart?
It's kind of wild, man. Two of the most prestigious coaches in college football, it's one of those situations. And, when it comes to a decision like this and it's time to make a decision of which coach I want to play for and which coach I feel like would better my potential and going to the place that, all college football players want to go, that's probably where I'm at with that.
How would you compare the way the two recruit when it comes right down to this stage, when it's getting right down to the decision?
In my recruitment process now, I like to say both of them are, active in my recruitment. They're both giving me calls every day. They're both, letting me know what's going on and really, really giving me a real good time or not a real good time, a real hard decision to make when it comes to this.
Of course, this era of college recruiting, the NIL questions come into play. Are you satisfied with the NIL opportunities at both schools, or does one offer a better NIL opportunity than the other?
Of course, it's always going to be like that, unless you're just making a call every day, hey, blah, 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 offer me this, can you match it? But for me, I feel like it really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, I'm a football player, and if I'm going to do what I'm going to do, then I should, I'm going to get paid regardless in the long run. So now I'm just taking it in and really trying to see where my development is going to be the most at, if I'm being quite frankly honest.
So will you make your decision, prior to Friday and notify the schools, or will you just wait, go all the way up to your announcement time on Friday?
That's the plan, to make my decision before Friday.
Will you notify the schools?
Yeah.
And how do you think this is going to hit you? I mean, the one that you are going to eventually pick. I mean, is it going to come to you in a dream? Is it going to be a gut feeling? Is it just going to, one day it's going to snap in your mind? How do you think you'll decide on the eventual choice?
I've been praying really hard. Like, I've been praying a lot, just talking to God and, asking him what's going on and really having those conversations that, you're supposed to have with him. So I feel like I trust God with my future a lot, and he'll never steer me wrong, regardless of how I feel in the moment, what school I want to go to in my mind. So, I feel like whichever way God leads me, and that's the school I'm going to go to.
All right, Seth Williams, we'll see what he ends up doing with his final decision. On to other news. Of course, today, Burns running back Trey Segura committed to LSU, made one visit to LSU. That was 2 weekends ago for his official visit, and that sold him on LSU over Indiana, Stanford, Tennessee, and South Carolina. Cornerback Kelvin Millington of Bogart, Georgia, he did not make his official to Texas Tech last weekend, and his official to Virginia Tech this coming weekend is also up in the air. South Carolina has been his only official to this point, and secondary coach Torian Gray is trying to close the deal. They FaceTimed last night, and he said that he's thinking about possibly shutting his recruitment down, Millington told us, and he's still got some calls to make. He wants to see where Virginia Tech is with him and see where South Carolina is, but he says he's really down to those two, and he'll see what happens from there. And he said that Gray, it still tells him he's really high on their board. They really like him. They're always reaching out. They want you here. They want you here is what he's been told. He has a strong sense that South Carolina is ready and willing to take his commitment. And but he doesn't feel the same way about Virginia Tech. They're not as strong on that with him at this particular time because they've gotten some more commitments for his area. In fact, he thinks they just got another safety. So he was going to announce July 9th, but he's been invited to the Nike opening by 24/7 to make his commitment announcement live with them between June 25th and June 27th. And right now he would call South Carolina his favorite. He said they're leading the pack. They're the only ones he's officially visited. They've shown the most love, great program, great fit for him. So he said, yeah, definitely they lead. South Carolina target defensive tackle Antoine McCoy tonight committed to Georgia. Receiver Amari Patterson of Bluffton and Ridgeland announcing on Saturday at 6 o'clock via the CBS Sports College Football YouTube channel. South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Georgia Tech listed as his finalists. He visited USC last weekend. And Paul Strellis, who did that. South Carolina offered Burns cornerback Aiden Wiggins after camp. He committed to Auburn on June 2nd. That offer came down yesterday. Back to Paul Strelo of Tiger Illustrated. If you missed this, on Monday, he projected Clemson to gain commitments from defensive lineman Seth Tillman of South Point, defensive end R.J. Hudson of Chesterfield, Virginia, and safety Jaden Aparicio Bailey of Prattville, Alabama. Let's see. Clemson offered defensive lineman Segan Alexander of Rabun Gap, Georgia. He made his official visit over the weekend. Clemson offered 2028 defensive tackle Prince Che, 6'4", 305 of Thomasville, Georgia. South Carolina offered 2028 quarterback Chandler Dyson, 6'3", 225, Warner Robins, Georgia. Last season, 2,138 yards and 16 touchdowns. USC offered 2028 defensive lineman Turvon Glass of Danville, Virginia. Defensive end James Pace of Hyattville, Maryland, who had South Carolina among his favorites, told us last night he's not had any contact with Deion Barnes of South Carolina recently, so he doesn't have the Gamecocks among his finalists when he announces on Friday night. He never visited South Carolina. Somerville running back Javen Williams committed to James Madison. Last season, 2,011 yards and 24 touchdowns. Linebacker K.J. McQueen of LaGrange, Georgia, committed to Coastal Carolina. 2028 offensive lineman Brody Lorenzo of Dutch Fork, offered by North Carolina. Former Timberland receiver 2028 Jordan Gorham, offered by Georgia. 2029 offensive lineman Jordan Lewis of Dorman, offered by Alabama. Basketball, Clemson offered 2028 6'4" Braylon Moses of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. USC offered in the 28 class 6'5" R.J. Davis and 6'6" C.J. Moore of Ridgeview, 6'6" Caleb Allen of Christchurch, and 6'6" Antoine Kaufman, Jr. of Keenan. 2028 6'6" Kamaje Jenkins, an Anderson native, was offered by Florida State. Baseball, free agent left-hander Jackson Miller of Bowling Green is headed to Clemson as a freshman last year. 14 games, 10 starts, 1-2 with a 5.84 ERA. Former Clemson outfielder Nate Savoy headed to Texas A&M. Outfielder Logan Newcomb of Atlantic Collegiate committed to Coastal. Right-hander A.J. Rogers of Nova Scotia committed to Coastal. He had been committed to Houston. And the former Citadel catcher Garrett Fulmer signed with the College of Charleston. Hit .289 with a homer and 15 RBIs in 41 games. Former USC right-hander Elijah Foster headed to Austin Peay. And that is that. That's all we got, and we'll see you tomorrow.